Strikers 1. The birth of the striker from shadows to spotlight. Football, the beautiful game. When you think about it today, the image that instantly comes to mind is a striker, arms wide open, running towards the corner flag, the stadium roaring as the ball rattles the net. But it wasn't always like this. The role of the striker, the heartbeat of scoring, the one who carries the weight of expectation, is something that evolved, piece by piece, decade by decade. To understand strikers today, we must travel back in time, back to the very beginning of football. The dawn of goal scorers, late 19th, early 20th century. In the late 1800s, when football was still carving its identity, there were no superstars. Teams played with rigid structures, often with 2, 3, sometimes even 5 forwards lined across the pitch. Back then, the idea was simple: overload the opponent and kick the ball into the net. Strikers were not celebrated individuals, they were part of a machine. Crowds cheered for goals, but names rarely echoed through history. Yet, even in those primitive tactics, you could see the spark of individuality. There were players who had something extra: sharper instincts, faster feet, stronger will. They weren't just part of the attack. They were the attack. And slowly, people began to notice. The 1930 World Cup, the striker emerges. 1930. Uruguay. The very first FIFA World Cup. Here, the world saw the birth of the striker as a hero. Uruguay's Hector Scarone and Argentina's Guillermo Stable lit up the tournament. Stable, in particular, became the tournament's first great striker, scoring 8 goals in just 4 matches. Suddenly, the striker wasn't just another player, he was the face of victory. The newspapers, the fans, even the rival players, everyone started to acknowledge something powerful: football goals weren't just numbers. They were emotions. And the man delivering them was more than just a forward. He was becoming an icon. The 1950s, war, recovery, and the rise of striker icons. After World War II, football became a way of healing nations. Stadiums filled again, songs returned, and the hunger for glory intensified. This was when strikers truly entered folklore. Names like Ferenc Puskás of Hungary, Alcides Giggia of Uruguay, and Just Fontaine of France, these men were not only scoring goals but defining tournaments. Take Fontaine, for example. In the 1958 World Cup, he scored 13 goals, a record still untouched. 13 times he made the net tremble. 13 moments of pure electricity. And yet, what people remember is not just the numbers, but the emotion, the roar of the crowd, the tears of the opponents, the legacy of a man who carried a nation's dreams on his boots. The striker was no longer just a player. He was now the symbol of hope. The 1960s, flair, creativity, and the beautiful striker. As football evolved tactically, so did strikers. No longer just poachers waiting in the box, many began to drop deep, create plays, and redefine the art of goal scoring. This was the era of Eusebio da Silva Ferreira, the Black Panther, of Portugal. His explosive pace, thunderous shots, and elegance on the ball captivated the world in the 1966 World Cup. He didn't just score, he made people fall in love with football. Eusebio symbolized something new: the striker as an entertainer. Not only a weapon for goals, but also a magician who made the game worth watching. Crowds didn't just admire him, they adored him. The 1970s, golden age of strikers. And then came the 1970s, a time many call the golden age of strikers. This was the age of Gerd Müller, Der Bomber. A man who seemed ordinary outside the pitch, but inside the penalty box, he was a predator. With short legs, sharp instincts, and ice-cold composure, Müller scored goals that seemed impossible. He netted 68 goals in 62 matches for West Germany. Numbers that still baffle statisticians. And alongside him, players like Luigi Riva of Italy, Johan Cruyff and Paolo Rossi were rewriting what it meant to be a striker. By now, the striker was not just a scorer or entertainer. He was a legend, a hero whose name was sung by children on the streets, painted on walls, and remembered in history books. The psychology of the striker. But what made these men different? What makes a striker stand out in any era? It is not just skill. It is psychology. The striker lives in constant tension. 90 minutes of running, of battling defenders, of hearing the crowd's anxious chants, all for that one moment when the ball arrives. And in that heartbeat, with the weight of thousands of eyes on him, he has to deliver. 1 second of hesitation, failure. 1 second of courage, immortality. That is the life of a striker. That is why they are not just footballers, they are storytellers. Every goal is a story. Every celebration, a chapter. Every miss, a tragedy. Closing of Part 1. From the rigid systems of the early 1900s, to the heroes of the first World Cups, to the legends of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. The striker had transformed. He had gone from being a shadow in the formation to the spotlight of the game. And this was only the beginning. Because the 1980s and 1990s were waiting with Diego Maradona, Marco van Basten, Gabriel Batistuta, Ronaldo Nazario, and so many more who would take the role of striker to heights no one had ever imagined. But that is a story for Part 2. If you enjoyed this journey into the history of football strikers, make sure to like, share, and comment with your favorite striker of all time. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon, so you don't miss Part 2 of this incredible story.